Don't sweat 802.1x. Know the difference between WPA2 PSK and WPA2 Personal or Enterprise or EPEEP MSCAP V2. Know the continuum. Obviously, Enterprise is going to be better and more secure than Personal, right? And Personal is going to be better and more secure than PSK. Because with Personal, at least you have to enter a username. With PSK, it's just the password. There are use cases for it, like a coffee shop. But the CompTIA's questions are going to be from the perspective of an organization. So they're going to be looking for the more secure option. So Enterprise or EPEEP MSCAP V2. Cool?
Yeah.
All right. Don't go.
I think AES is just like, that's only one key, right?
It's a standard. It is the metric. It would be the, so see how we have here, I wasn't looking at the screen, but we have WPA2 PSK and WPA2 AES. AES is the better one. What else can we glimmer from this? WPS, did you have it turned on or off?
You should always have it turned off, unless you're like at a nursing home.
Oh. Crappy implementation.
Oh yeah, it's got really good brute forcing, and then like people.
WarDrive? No, it's well, sure. I mean, if you're in a car, but it's just brute force. They took
war driving. I know what that is.
They took a 7-digit, was it 7 or 8-digit, 7 or 8-digit code, numeric code, and nerfed it into a 4. So they used 3 digits for the manufacturer code, 1 digit as a checksum of the other digits, nerfing an 8-digit pin into a 4-digit pin, which means there's only 11,000 possible combinations.
Yeah, long story short, you only need to try 11,000 combinations to hack it.
Yep,
that's why I think a lot of WPS today has like lockout, right?
You mean by lockout? Do you mean like after you've tried? Okay.
Yeah, brute force protection.
I mean, it's possible. Different manufacturers are going to put different on their respective devices. But if your 3.8 is securely configure a wireless access point, WPA or WPS rather is an option, just like enabling or disabling your SSID broadcast. It would be worth knowing what those should be set to for the most secure configuration possible.
Tail lists the last 10 lines of an editor text. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I think that has something to do with the certificates, or I think that might be to parse like figure. I don't really know exactly. I know that I think it has something, or I think it has something to do with certificates. Scanless. I'll be honest, I don't know what the heck that does. grep that looks through files for specific keywords that you set, or it could filter out specific keywords. Nmap, that's a scanner. A lot of people use it for vulnerability scanning. Curl or CURL, that if you do CURL and then a website name, that'll give you back like this the page source, and then head that lists the top 10 of a text. So we know what the answer is. It's curl and grep, but I don't quite know what OpenSSL or Scanless does, and I'm going to mark that down real quick. Okay. I love that command. Grep is great. Wait, wait, what are you talking about? Like you copied it? That's crazy. Dude, why pay people to make websites when you could just steal them? Yeah, it's just that's mine, thank you. Anyway, we got the specialist here, dude. Maybe no, dude. You gotta obfuscate the code and then like change the color of one thing, and there you go. That's yours now. Yeah, obfuscate it. They won't ever know, dude. Even though the front end is exactly the same, they'll have no way to prove it, dude. Oh, that's incorrect. Uh, okay. Attribute. Attribute and role based at the end. So discretionary access control. The owner of the file is able to tell, like, say who's allowed to access it and stuff. Mandatory access control. That or yeah. Mandatory access control. Dex was saying it was a top down, so like there's things that uses labels like top secret, secret, etc. Uh, Attribute based access control is it's where like damn your dog is ripping fucking ass right now, dude.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, no, it's just funny, dude. No, it's I don't mind it. I think it's just funny. Attribute based is basically like if you think about attribute access or authorization, like it looks at things like um, are you associated with this area that the IP gives off, or like do you have I know that attributes are like, okay, this person usually comes in with like AirPods and shit connected to them. So do they have AirPods connected to them right now? Or like, all those like attributes that add up to the access control. And then role-based access control is like manager access, administrator access, IT people, stuff like that. I think I could be wrong. If I say something incorrect, please like slap me on the wrist. But I think that's the explanation. To assign individual rights and permissions to a file on their network drive. Uh, I mean, that seems like one person's in control over the access,
Over the access to what?
a file.
A file, correct.
So I would say it's A.
Good
That's what I'd
job.
say.
Why B? So it says a user, right? If a user, and let's not assume that they're an admin or anything, if a user can give access to a file to another user, whether it's read, write, modify, execute, it's at the owner of the file's discretion. Mandatory would be globally. Even if I want to share it with you, if you don't have sufficient, let's call it clearance, you still access it. But discretionary, it's at my discretion. I can share it with you, even though you're in a different department. So since it just says the user adds 3 individual users, What about the others, though? What does the R in RBAC stand for?
I just went through all of those.
Oh, good job.
What do you mean wrong? That was right. What are you
So,
talking about?
so,
What? No,
so,
this can't be.
ABAC, so ABAC is pretty good, right?
I mean, I would assume so. I
Would,
don't know. I haven't
would
really
you, would you
seen much
agree
about it.
that it would fit into the classification of rule-based access?
Would I put it in what now?
Would you agree that it can be classified as rule-based access? Rule like a
Yeah, yeah. I think so. Yeah.
so there's another rule-based access schema
It's like
within the exam
if they're
objectives.
in compliance, then they have access.
Nothing to do with compliance.
Really?
So let's hone in on ABAC and conditional access. So conditional access is the best. Yeah, they can both consider parameters, even multiple parameters like time of day, are you in the US, has your password expired, or all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Your RBAC is going to stop, and by RBAC, I mean your rule based, is going to stop at allow or deny.
Are you saying role or rule based?
Rule
RU
based,
or OL?
are you?
So that's like if they're using the browser that people want them to use, right?
It doesn't have to be for a browser, but
Well,
if that
for
helps,
example.
sure. Let's just put rule based access on one side, and
Okay.
that is going to consider some parameters. Like you have to be, I don't know, in Florida to be able to access this, whatever.
Right.
It's going to allow or deny, no in between. And it can consider multiple parameters. You have to be in Florida, and it has to be a Tuesday.
Okay.
Conditional access takes it a step further. It can prompt the user for additional actions like, hey, I see you're trying to connect from offsite, so I need you to provide the code I just sent to your phone. Or your password is expired. I need you to update your password in that election. Or I
Oh,
see
okay.
you're a third party contractor, so I'll give you limited access since you're off-site or a third party, as opposed to just the yes, no, allow, deny that we'd associate with rule-based um, access. They
So
both consider
I
parameters. Conditional access takes it a step further by prompting the user for additional
I got
actions.
a question about
What
conditional access. Do you think you could answer this?
is
We'll see. So I have something in my mind that I learned about a while ago where it was talking about a type of authorization or access or something which uses privately stored data to quiz them about it to see if you're the actual person. So like for example,
those are challenge.
uh huh?
What you're describing is called challenge questions. What school did you go to? What's your mother's maiden name? That kind of stuff.
No, more like when you were on. Yeah, I mean, I guess I think that
Personal
there were
information, like
he he
what
was
school you go
he
ahead.
was talking about two different things. One was like what was your pet's name, and one was like when you lived on this street, what was your address type of thing.
For the scope of this exam, they're both challenge questions.
Okay.
It's just challenging you with a question which you should know the answer to if you are the person you
And would
purport.
that fall into that access control that you were talking about, or is that completely unrelated?
Uh, if for the scope of this exam, no, it's like
Okay.
no. That is a thing. Challenge questions are a thing. Like if you're resetting a password or something, but it doesn't really come up on the exam objectives.
Okay. Thank you.
Beep. Yep.
Alrighty. Let's
Is this for 11? Smishing.
Sorry, Lewis, this is Security Plus 1101's up in the other chat.
Smishing, I think.
It'd be de-smishing.
Unless somebody doesn't know it. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Yeah, I like talking about these. Oh, nobody's speaking up. Yeah, sure, I'll stutter through this one. The department store policy requires that a floor manager approves each transaction when a gift certificate is used for payment. The security team has found that some of these transactions have been processed without the approval of a manager. Which of the following would provide a separation of duties to enforce this store policy? I think it's D. Because D seems like the only separation of duties. Other things kind of access control, either disabling it or having something to monitor and block it. Yeah. Oops. This one's pretty
Somebody
good.
talking about this in the Security Plus channel.
Somebody was talking about it.
Somebody was asking about it, so they posted like 5 minutes ago.
Rainbow tables, from my knowledge, a rainbow table is like it's like a password list that somebody has. Yeah, it's like a table of hashes, like a large table of hashes that are pretty
A
like
large
figured out.
table of pre-computed hashes.
Yeah.
Love me a
Uh,
rainbow.
I'd love
Oh,
to
we know
see
they're
them
not
in
gonna work if they're
action,
salted.
but I think it doesn't work if it's salted.
What's one consideration?
And there are different types of hashing methods, so
Mhm.
different tables are required because why would you have I mean, it wouldn't really make too much sense to have to go through like certain hash types on hashes that are not that hash type, if that makes sense. It would
Right.
take up too much time.
If I've
Even
got
though
a
rainbow tables are
table,
ridiculously fast, but
if I've got a table containing the 1,000 most common passwords and their corresponding MD5 hashes, it's not going to help me crack a SHA-256 hash.
yeah.
Beep boop.
Delta and Echo.
Yeah. D and E. You know, that already kind of points to something there. I would probably say D. Buffer overflow doesn't really have. Well, hold on. Oh, they're being directed. Yeah, definitely DNS poisoning. I was gonna say buffer overflow because, not. I wasn't going to say that, but the first sentence kind of gives a possibility, but if you read the second sentence, that points it to DNS poisoning.
So
DDoS also.
riddle me this: DNS poisoning is a specific attack. Um, there are other attacks that also redirect users away from legitimate sites or services and towards fraudulent. Uh, mm,
DNS
uh,
poisoning.
so more like DNS poisoning, art poisoning, typo squatting, uh, like a lot of them can fit into one category. There's one category that covers any attack that redirects users away from the legitimate site and towards a fraudulent one. Do you know what that name would be?
Doing it towards a fraudulent one.
Any attack which redirects traffic away from a legitimate site and towards a
Oh,
fraud. However, no,
hijacking. No.
Old McDonald. What did he have?
Oh, farming.
Farming.
Gotcha.
There you go. That- what? The old McDonald? That,
Moda.
that's me. Yeah. So
DNS
that's
poisoning.
that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. You're learning.
That's the fun
CompTIA
part about it, though.
is
Yeah.
big on putting things into categories and putting things into order. So anytime you've got like art poisoning and DNS poisoning are both examples of farming. They both redirect traffic away from a legitimate site towards something else, a fraudulent one, a bad one, whatever it is. Um, so a question could be structured a number of different ways, but ultimately the knowledge being tested is, do you know what classification of attack this fits into? Is this a brute force attack? Is this non-path attack? Is this a farming attack? If it is a farming attack, is it DNS poisoning or something else? But now you know, and knowing is some part of the value. Part of the knowing is half the battle. There we go.
Half the battle? Yeah, come on, G.I. Joe.
And
Come on.
and DNS poisoning is kind of like going into etc hosts in like a Linux machine and changing around that of a certain website, right? Or am I wrong completely on that? Okay.
Sorry, I'm eating, but think of it as modifying the host's file.
Okay. Almost. Yeah. Sound like Hank Hill, dude.
Only two things in there are actually cloud related.
Cloud.
Hybrid, definitely.
Private and external. Definitely hybrid.
Yeah, definitely hybrid.
All right, who's reading? I'm on my second coffee. Dude.
Yeah, might as well. Freaking wrote it. A company hires a large number of seasonal employees, and their system access should normally be disabled when the employee leaves the company. The security administrator would like to verify that their systems cannot be accessed by any of the former employees. Which of the following would be the best way to provide this verification? Confirm that no unauthorized accounts have administrator access. Validate the account lockout policy. Validate the processes and procedures for all outgoing employees. Create a report that shows all authentications for a 24-hour period.
Charlie.
Maybe you shouldn't be drinking 2 monsters, man.
What does a monster have? 160 grams of caffeine times 2, so that's
Your
no,
adrenaline.
no, it's just 320 grams of caffeine.
Do we need to start worrying about you, man?
Here's right. I was gonna say tackle it by picking off the ones that just don't apply. Yeah. So account lockout is if I put in the wrong password 5 times, now my account is locked, right? Would that apply to an outgoing employee? Okay. Would would you agree that it's a good idea to make sure that people who don't have admin access don't? But
W-
is it what the question's asking? Because you'll have questions where the other options are things you should do. They're not,
Would
but
validating the processes and procedures count? Like, would confirming that no unauthorized accounts have administrator access be a part of the validation of the process and procedures?
Part of an offboarding process.
well,
Yeah,
validating the process and procedures for outgoing employees, that's only offboarding, right? So disabling their access to whatever resources, their email,
Active Directory.
getting their encryption keys archived, all that good stuff, right? So no unauthorized accounts having administrator access, that can happen at any point. That's just, hey, we're doing an audit. Here's the people who have administrator level access. Do these people need to have administrator access? There's nothing specific to offboarding or outgoing employees in that
okay.
op. So while it's a good practice, it doesn't satisfy the question.
Uh,
Right. Maybe that came across wrong. The answer is C. I'm saying that checking the no unauthorized accounts have admin access. It's a good thing to do, but it doesn't have anything to do with offboarding. That's just
I see what
That's
you're
more
saying.
audit related, like you said.
and the question's asking specifically about outgoing or offboarding. So apparently the best answer. Good job.
Let's see what it. Yeah. I like Mac filtering. If it B wouldn't make sense because they're able to see it and they're like
Hmm.
802, that's just the authentication. It wouldn't. If they're
Yeah,
using the
definitely be A.
correct if they're using the correct login, then the 802 authentication wouldn't. I don't see how that would be the problem in anti-spoofing. I don't honestly know how that would relate. Yeah. Yeah.
Good job.
Devices or hardware. Yeah.
So you're going to get, hypotheoretically, a few questions that are basically just like this. What command produces this output? You're not going any deeper than that, examining the actual contents of it, like identifying source and destination. Other questions may ask you what's the source or destination or whatever, but it could be just what command produces this output. And the good news is each command has kind of unique output. I definitely recommend running each of these a few times to become familiar with what they look like. That way, if the question's asking what command produced this output, oh, hey, it has hops in it, so it must be this command, or it has TTL in it, so it must be this command, or it has local address, so it must be this command. In this case, we've got some states on the far right, like close, wait, and establish. Which of these
Mhm.
commands do you think would tell us about the states of some different things?
Netstat,
Correct.
Mhm.
Good
Correct.
job. Network
because
statistics.
that has stat in the name.
Right. Network statistics like Windows Defender is listening for updates, Discord is connected, Fortnite is closed.
The Fortnite port's closed. Yeah.
If you see hops, it's traceroute. If you see TTF, that's ping. If you see your like local address, that's ipconfig on Windows, ifconfig on Mac. Um, what are the other commands? Netstat, ipconfig, traceroute, ping. Yeah, those are the ones I'd focus on.
Could I associate the word state on the right side with stat? Or is there other commands that also have
Whatever.
that state in there?
If it helps you remember it, it is easier to add information to the synapses between axons and neurons in your brain than to build new bridging paths. So, sure, there may be other things that have stat in them, but if stat connecting to state helps you, by all
It
means, use it.
limits the amount of things, I guess. That would... An attacker has discovered a way to disable a server by sending specially crafted packets from many remote devices. That is a definition of something right there. That is the direct definition of a DDoS attack.
Mhm.
Many remote devices is, and
You honed in on the right word there. If you see multiple devices, many devices, that can be a strong indicator you're dealing with DDoS.
yeah. If it were just one, it would be a normal DOS.
Yep.
I'm going to make a recommendation that you just set the question aside for a second and step through the the first step through the last step. What is the first step in the incident response process?
Uh, identify
No,
or
we have to do
isolate.
something before we can identify.
Isolate it.
Uh,
No,
have a plan. I don't
Pre-
know.
prepare,
Yeah.
prepare. So I install antivirus software. That's prepare. Okay.
Right.
Then my antivirus software identifies a malicious file. That's identification. Okay, what comes next?
Isolation and containment.
Yeah, let's disconnect that computer from the network so it doesn't affect anybody else. All right, then what?
Then I think you would probably try and fix it.
Yeah,
Like once you've
eradication. We
yeah
fix the problem. Delete that malicious file. Then
yeah
what?
try
Six steps,
and
that's right.
get it all back to how it was,
Right. So reconstitution. We get it back the way it was. We reconnect that computer to the network now that we've fixed the problem.
and
And the
then
last and most important
lessons
step,
learned.
lessons
Lessons
learned. We document what happened and what we did so we have some reference for the future. So you can remember the acronym PICRL, PICERLL, PICRL. That is the incident response process. If you get a question about one of those processes, be really careful if the question is asking about the next step or the step that was just performed.
Right.
So
Okay.
if the question says, "All right, John just disconnected the computer from the network. What step did he perform?" That was isolation, containment.
Isolating containment.
If it
Yeah.
says, "What steps should he do next?" That's eradication. It would suck to know the process but miss out on points because mixing up next versus
Yeah, I don't think there's a worse feeling than missing a question, going back, and then being like, "Oh, I knew that."
Mm-hmm.
and do we have any votes for D, precursors?
Is precursors the
Yeah,
preparation?
the precursors came before the forerunners. And of course, you had the forerunners, humanity, the covenant. Anybody, is this landing at all? It's Halo. Jesus. Precursors,
No.
just just signs that something might be wrong, something might be off. You can think of them as indicators of compromise, but it's just a different word for it. Precursor to an attack could be some probes going on or someone doing reconnaissance or something. As the name implies, precursor, something that comes before something else. Beep boop.
Cool.
So, what's the answer to the question?
Precursor. Read it again. Reconstruction or reconstitution.
Good job.
Oh, sorry. I thought the filter would filter it. Yeah, it's a service. Platform as a service is talking about cloud, right? So the
So,
only one on there that's cloud related is a
I'm so glad,
CAS or CASB. What'd you say, Dex?
I'm so glad you pointed that out.
Mm-hmm.
Every question, I'm like, I wait till the end, but I'm like, that's literally the only one that has to do with cloud. And if you can just know, hey, platform as a service is a cloud deployment model, and the C in CASB stands for cloud.
Yeah.
Good job.
Was it Cloud Access Security Broker, I think?
That is
Yeah.
correct. I'll give you a secure cookie if you can tell me 2 common functionalities of a CASB.
It's able to
Oh.
verify encryption
I'm gonna
and
suck at that one.
analyze applications in use.
Good job.
Organization has identified a significant vulnerability in a firewall that was recently installed for internet connectivity. The firewall company has stated there are no plans to create a patch for this vulnerability. Which of the following would best describe this issue?
I'm calling it now. Someone's going to get it wrong. Not that I don't believe in you. This one's a tricky one. I'm going to bet you're able to narrow it down to 2, yeah?
Okay, I want to know why it's not end of life.
And I want you to read the second line of text starting from was.
Was recently installed.
Stop.
Gotcha.
If it was recently installed, it's not end of life. It's not, some old piece of crap. It's something we just purchased, and probably wouldn't be at its end of life. It's lack of vendor support. It's not worth their time to fix it. So,
Oh, so end of life is only talking about when the actual software or product has come to a complete end rather
Windows
than sorry, what?
Windows X,
Gotcha. Okay.
Windows XP, Microsoft no longer supports it. It has reached the end of life,
Okay.
and you can't go out and buy Windows XP.
Right.
You could buy Windows 11, and there could be some problem with the Windows 11, and Microsoft just says, "Nah, we ain't going to do anything about it." Well, it's not at its end of life. It's just lack of vendor support.
So if they're not gonna patch these vulnerabilities, then that means an end of life is going to be coming on quicker than anticipated.
Well, don't make any assumptions or engineer edge case scenarios. If you have to introduce extra logic, you should be able to select the best answer to a question based only on the information you're given. The information we're given here is it was recently installed. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, you got to make a little leap of faith. Well, what if I bought it 20 years ago, but I'm installing it today? And, don't.
Yeah, I see
But
what you're
little
saying.
things like that, like we call them a qualifier, right? So I could say power redundancy or data redundancy or network redundancy. They're all redundancy. The qualifier is going to change the correct answers depending on if I'm asking about power redundancy or data redundancy. The other ones are still redundancy. And so in this case, the was recently installed, that's our qualifier that tells us that it's a new device, basically. Beep, boop. I had somebody a while back who was like, it could be a Trojan that opens a back door that allows the attacker to install a keylogger. I'm like, my bro, you're jumping through so many hoops when the best answer is right there. You have to make
Are you talking about a cert master question?
no, this was just some I'm no, because I would never talk about a third master question. But it was just somebody in a study group who had a lot of what if.
Yeah,
And
I think I think I fell into that hoop. Probably on it rings a bell, that specific
disclaimer,
answer.
this was 6 months ago, so I'm not speaking about anybody currently present.
Okay.
Uh,
I definitely jumped through those hoops
if you're having
a little
to jump
bit.
through hoops or introduce what ifs, you're probably barking up the wrong tree.
You do that more in diagnostics, probably more than you would with the test.
Yeah. All right.
All right, let's do some D&D.
What
I
the
agree.
fuck is wrong with you? All right, yeah. uh, stop it. Stop it, man. That's okay. I'm on my fourth shot of espresso. A company has decided to. I think
Ugh.
we're.
Oh, my
Uh,
summer child.
you're definitely more. Yeah, you're up. You're up. A
For the
company has
sake of
decided to.
have you heard
Sorry.
of my friend phenylethylamine? Try putting that in your coffee. Don't really, though. You'll have a heart attack.
I'm all right, man.
All right.
A company has decided to perform a disaster recovery exercise during an annual meeting with the IT directors and senior directors. A simulated disaster, simulated disaster. No, I'm just emphasizing it. Will be present. Uh, and the participants will discuss the logistics and process. Discuss the logistics. Sorry. Which one of the following would best describe this exercise? That's what I would
So,
guess.
what, like Dungeons and Dragons?
Yep.
Fireball.
Let me roll a
Anytime,
d20 real quick for good luck. Hold on.
anytime there's a power or a continuum, you should know it for the exam. In this case, what's the benefit of tabletop exercise as opposed to other options?
Very
Ready?
low cost.
Low cost? Okay. What about risk?
A very low risk as well.
Right. We're not going to break anything if we're just talking through
Yeah.
what we do, right?
Yeah.
Now, what would be the next step up from tabletop exercise?
Um. So, damn it, dude. I know what it is. It's just.
It's going to be simulations. Simulation.
Yeah, that was
Look,
it, dude.
That
I was thinking like fishing sims.
So the best example I have is a fire drill. When you do a
Yeah.
fire drill, you're simulating what you would do in the event the fire alarm goes off. It's
Gotcha.
not going to hurt anything. It's not going to burn the building down, but it can interrupt business. You can disrupt business. You can't have a meeting while the fire alarm's going. So more invasive than a tabletop exercise is a simulation. It's not going to hurt anything, but it could disrupt business. Above
What's a
that,
step up?
full-blown penetration test. It
Oh,
could
okay.
both disrupt our business and, if done improperly, potentially damage our systems.
Yeah.
So most invasive or most potential for risk uh, is penetration test. In the middle is simulation, and at the bottom, tabletop. Um, when there's advantages to using one over the other, um, CompTIA, you can have multiple options that satisfy the question or requirement to some degree. But if they're looking for the least invasive or the least risky or the most secure or the most detailed, that's where knowing that continuum of what is better than what or what is more hazardous than what comes into play. Beep, boop.
Cool.
Now, on that note, before we move forward, vulnerability test you can run would not affect your workplace, but if you did a penetration test, it could affect things to go down, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm understanding right.
A vulnerability a vulnerability scan is just going to
A scam,
scan
sorry.
vulnerabilities. A penetration
Okay.
test is actually going to attempt to penetrate that target.
Yeah. Like
Like
if
an
you have
attack
a
practically. Gotcha.
vulnerability, like a bunch of scripts enabled on the test, that would be kind of invasive. That'd be more of a test. All right, cool.
Gotcha. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'm so glad you said that ranking DAX because I had never even associated that with pen testing
Heck yeah, dude.
until now.
One is glad to be of service.
Okay. Would it be a DNS sinkhole?
Oh, we definitely know that.
Multiple honeypots on a network? it prevents things like social security cards, credit cards, etc., from being transmitted outside of the network or transported. That's where
The
like
asterisk on the credit card slip.
yeah, where you cover up something. And DNS sinkhole, a, a DNS sinkhole redirects like so if you have a list of like malicious sites, when somebody goes to try and huh oh sorry that I don't know that messed me up. When somebody goes to try and access one of those websites, it will redirect it and flag a user like it'll flag a machine for visited this or whatever and then like it will I don't really see the connection where I know it has this functionality, but I can't describe how it happens. But a DNS sinkhole is used to find what machines on the. Is it DLP? I'm so a data loss prevention doesn't it's not an IDS, it's a DLP. Like I don't think a data loss prevention is able to identify malware. Honestly, I think it's C. I think it's
Yeah, I'm
DNS
pretty
sinkhole.
sure. Sorry, hi, I'm out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure it's C, and the rationale is like, if the malware is redirecting you to X malicious website, you're gonna be able to see it if you put that in the sinkhole.
You're going to be able to see who were on malicious sites or who was on like what machine was on malicious sites.
Like honestly,
Yeah, I
none of
agree
these
with
sound like great answers, but it's the only one that like could work in my head.
Yeah, DLP
I guess
definitely wouldn't be
DLP
a
could also work.
Social Security.
I don't
I thought DLP
see
was if
how
you put a social
DLP could
security
work.
to email.
Yeah, like
I get,
it's able to analyze things being transported outside of your internal or outside of the network, I guess.
yeah, so if the malware is extracting like credit card numbers, you could see it with DLP, but
Yeah,
I guess it's assuming that redirecting you to malware redirecting you to websites would be more common because DLP is
Yeah,
usually
so
thought
sinkhole
of
will
as
definitely be.
like you don't want your employees sending stuff over to their personal emails or something.
yeah. I think it's definitely C. Let's see what it is.
Yeah,
If
I agree.
it's
C.
HoneyNet, I'm gonna cry.
No, it shouldn't be HoneyNet.
Yeah, probably not.
That's a place to attract attackers to go to instead of going to like a certain file.
Yeah, okay. Used to redirect identify a device. Like the way I think of it, I could be wrong, but I think it's like it's a thing that has a bunch of known malicious websites, and when somebody on the network tries to access them, I think it's supposed to redirect them to the sinkhole. Yeah, I had about 70% of an explanation, so that's why it threw you off most likely because I didn't know how to connect them for it to make full sense. Yeah, yeah. I know DNS sinkholes are used for identifying what's infected, but or what goes on malicious sites. A system admin has been you do. A system admin has been called to a system that is suspected to have malware infection. The administrator has removed the device from the network and has disconnected all USB flash drives. Which of these incident response steps is the administrator following? We just talked about that.
Yeah.
Put your answers in, I guess. Yeah, this one's difficult to mess up if you were here for the last 10 minutes. I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure it's containment. Actually, I'll say I'm 100% sure it's that.
Yeah, if
See
you're
when he gets
disconnecting,
back.
yeah, from the network,
Yeah.
definitely would be that.
What's
Because
the
lessons
next
learned
step?
would be the last one if you wanted to do it the opposite way.
Yeah. What's the next step after this?
After you contain it, you'd probably want to go ahead and eradicate it. I'm thinking the 7 steps from A+, never mind.
No, that's right. You contain, eradicate, reconstruct, lessons learned. Pearl, or whatever he said. Air gap isn't an incident response step, though. Air gap is like a completely segmented or like detached network.
You playing a Fender or a Gibson?
Squire.
A Fender Squire. Just have one of those. Need to pick up my PRS one of these days. Might be able to do it in the wintertime.
What's that?
A
PRS?
single cut that I have when I used to work there. Oh, Paul Reed Smith.
Oh. Man.
Used to work there a long, long time ago.
I want to. I used. Or I think this is where it was. I lived next to the where the Gibson factory was, but I think they closed down not too, or actually a while ago. I think they closed a few years back. I learned about it. I was like, yeah. Uh, I was gonna say I think no, I can't remember. Who cares? It wasn't really security related. Yep, containment. Use logic on this one. This one's like put your answers in, guys. How can a company ensure that all data on a mobile device is unrecoverable if the device is lost or stolen? Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Geofencing should be if you're in a certain perimeter of a building, you should be able to have access to the depending
Yeah.
on your location.
Yeah, I don't think it's geofencing. Yeah, it would be remote wipe.
Yeah, remote wipe is used for we use for the MDM mobile alarms.
Yeah, geofencing is really cool. Yeah, it's like you're only able to access company data. You're only able to get authorization into company data or something if you are, for example, inside of the building inside the company building, or like you're not able to access certain things. Geofencing is allowing or disallowing based off of location. That doesn't mean though that the data is not on the machine. Like I think that it would probably be on the machine, but it's just you're not able to access it unless you're in the specific spot. Remote wipe is the most safe because it's no longer on the machine. Security administrators collecting information associated with a ransomware infection on the company's web servers. Which of the following log files would provide information regarding the memory contents of the web's of these servers? Almost had it, man. Almost had it. Memory contents. This one, there's a command
File.
for getting memory contents, and it has it in the name what the log file is.
I'm gonna go with C.
Memory memdump. Yes. Which part of the PC startup process verifies the digital signature of the OS kernel? Measured boot, it is something that allows you to analyze things that are like when you boot up, it analyzes certain things. I don't know if measured boot is in charge of keeping things from running, but I know that it analyzes everything on a very high level when it starts up. And I can't. Yeah, trusted boot. It makes sure that everything is trusted. Make sure everything has a right, signature and things. Secure boot. It makes sure that no. I, I can't remember what the difference between trusted boot and secure boot is, but I know that trusted boot makes sure that it's only running things that it looks at the signature of. Secure boot, I think it doesn't run any untrusted things.
Trusted boot, wasn't that with the TPM?
Trusted. I don't. Oh, maybe actually. That would make sense if that
I
were.
wonder if trusted boot works with the was it the something platform module?
I don't
Yeah,
know
the
if
trusted
secure
trusted
boot is
platform module.
legacy. I don't know if secure boot's legacy, but I know that it's only something that you can get on a UFI.
I would think it would be secure boot.
I'd say it's B
I'm gonna go with C.
because I know trusted boot.
Oh yeah, Elam. I totally forgot about that. Good catch on that, Noah.
Oh, I didn't say anything about that. I didn't say anything about the ELAM. I just said I thought it looked at all the digital signatures of things, but apparently secured boot also looks at digital signatures.
Trusted boot, like their system kernel signature, that's the biggest part. Trusted boot does the
Yeah.
system kernel signature, I guess. As the other ones are different. Okay.
That would make sense that the TPM works with the trusted boot because it is often referred to as the hardware root of trusted boot. Not right, but two-factor authentication, something you have, something you are, something you know, someone you are, something you do. Password and PIN, that's something you know and something you know. The door requires a fingerprint scan, that's something you are, I think. One-time password code, that's something you have, that's only one thing though. And D is username, password, something you know, and a smart card, something you have. So that's,
2 factors right there.
yeah, so the answer would be D. I need to write that down. Okay. Company is applying a new mobile application to all of its employees in the field. Some of the problems associated with this rollout include the company does not have a way to manage the mobile devices in the field. Company data on mobile devices in the field introduces additional risks. Team members have many different kinds of mobile devices. What of the following would address these concerns? I don't think bring your own device would do that.
Definitely not VDI.
I don't think that I think that BYOD would actually create these problems. Rather than address them.
Because everyone's going to have a different device that they're bringing in with them. Some iPhones, some Android, so you're more likely to be
Yeah.
more susceptible.
I think BYOD means that you can bring in whatever you have. You know, it's like if you want, you can use your iPhone that you have from home.
And Cope is corporately owned, personally enabled, so you
Yeah.
can use a company phone, but use it like it is actually your BYOD, even though it's not. That's what Cope would practically be.
Why do you think that though? Corporate owned, personally employed, that would allow them to go and use the devices out in the field. Oh, they're talking about mobile devices. Isn't VDI specifically for virtual machines though? So, does anybody here know the difference between Cope and corporate owned? From, I don't know. Let me check real quick.
So I could be wrong, but I think Cope is actually where they have more. You can choose from a list of different cell phones and carriers, whereas corporate owned is like everyone basically has the same phone.
Corporate
So
owned,
Cope
the
is kind of
company.
like BYOD, but if I'm remembering it right, company owned, personally enabled, one of the things about that is
I just
that
pulled it
they
up.
have a list of of acceptable phones that you can choose from.
So, corporate owned is the company owns the device and controls everything on the device. The device is not for personal use. You'll have to buy your own device, or you'll need to buy your own device for home. Very specific security requirements. Not able to mix business with home use. So it's like a separate thing, completely for business. So that addresses the company data on mobile. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. Sorry.
I'm gonna go with VDI, just because that
Yeah,
first bullet.
because company data on mobile devices in the field introduces risk. With VDI, I'm guessing that wouldn't actually be on the mobile device because it would be a virtual thing, not stored on the device.
Just because it has no way of managing it. It said right there when it said manage, I'm like, yeah, he is right about that. You can manage all the other ones to a point, but you can't manage the VDI.
Different types of. I need to watch a video on a VDI and work too.
Yeah, we use the VDI at work when we're doing renewing certificates for people.
Oh.
That's always fun times.
So that works with mobile devices. Like, is it an application or is it how is it employed or enabled? How does somebody put a VDI on?
I'm not sure about how they put the VDI on. I'm just knowing how we connect to the server through the VDI to do the renewal for the PIV cards, but for the mobile, actually, I'm kind of curious about myself.
Yeah. All right, I think we're good to move on. Okay. Organization is installing a UPS for the new data center. Which of the following would best describe this type of control? UPS. Does anybody know what a UPS is?
Do you want me to tell you?
Well, I mean, I know what it is.
I know what it is.
This is a weird question. It could definitely be two,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess you're supposed to think UPS, temporary, so compensating probably.
I would say preventative or preventive.
Like preventative, I feel like preventative. I feel like sometimes on this test you can't think too hard. Like preventative, like yes, you might be preventing data loss by letting yourself like properly shut down something, but it's
You're compensating for the power that's been lost, so you're
yeah.
going to be compensating for that. And I can definitely see why you're saying preventive, Noah. I can definitely see that because I think
Well,
I
yeah,
answered something
the
like that a
reason
couple
I
weeks
Like
ago.
it's
think it
not a
like
full
that,
solution.
I think it's like that because it prevents a disaster. Like that's how I'm looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
No, but you're right, and you're exactly right. That's exactly logistically, but not test wise. When it comes to the CompTIA test, when we think that way, at least I noticed with the A+, I got in trouble. You got to
Now,
think of it like the way that they're asking it, and we know it's preventive. We know that's exactly what it's going to be used for. It's preventive measures to make sure. But for their point, they're going to look at it as you're compensating for the loss of what you don't have no longer.
yeah,
So
I
it's
think the
taking
point
that.
is, that it's not like a full solution. Like it doesn't completely stop the power from going out. It just saves you for like 30 minutes or whatever, and so it's compensating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people though they'll use them in combination with a generator. So
Yeah.
they'll have a generator in backup, and they'll have the UPS active for the time that it takes the generator to pop up. So I'm sticking with preventive. But
Yeah,
let's see.
I think with these questions you just can't assume more out of the system than they give you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
All
sure
right.
Dax would probably say the same thing, which is weird because we all put too much into it when we think about it, and then it's like son of a gun.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what the answer. Gotcha. Compensating security control does not prevent an attack, but it does restore from an attack using other means.
See, this is a bad explanation because, like, okay, a generator would provide alternative power too, but it would stop the power outage. It doesn't say temporary anywhere in the explanation, but I think that's the point.
Hmm.
See his. It's the test. It's not blowing up for me for some reason. That's weird.
Like, I guess a generator's temporary too, but it's different because it just is. I don't know. Like, if the question was a secondary generator, I bet the answer would be preventative.
I'm gonna go
Mhm.
ask Dax real quick. I'll be right back. I wanna see what his insights are. Be right back.
Oh, I'm getting questions right. I have to take the test in 1 day. Yay.
Yeah.
I'm taking it tomorrow in the
Good
afternoon.
luck, man. Good luck.
Yep, yep.
Ace it.
Taking it on company time. A lot of stuff. My job had a slideshow, like a whole. I didn't get to take their like boot camp or whatever, but they had like a PowerPoint series that I read. I did the Messer notes. I didn't do all the Messer videos, just on the stuff I didn't know. I did all of Dion's videos and notes. I did the app a bit. I did those really shitty like practice tests from that one website that kind of sound like they went through an AI. That was kind of a waste of time. I have to think of what that website's name was, but it was weird. Flashcards for the ports, flashcards for acronyms. Though knowing all the acronyms seems pretty unattainable because it's like 400. Um, what else? Probably some other stuff, but hopefully I'm over prepared.
I'm going to take mine at the end of the month, so man, you get this. You get it tomorrow. Nice.
That's tomorrow.
Next Friday.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I think. Which Discord is this? Is this Dion or Messer? Okay, I was about to say, I'm gonna hate on Dion tests. I think they are not helpful. I think, yeah, it feels like I don't know. It feels like a lot of stuff that is asked on those is both not on the objectives and kind of out of scope, and also I don't know. It just feels different. Like I do pretty well on the Messer practice tests, but it's like